directors for the CJC. And so we have an owner's comment period. Is there any owners that will be commenting? If not, I want to verify that the meeting was properly noticed
It was properly noticed.
and we have a quorum.
You do. You have 3 of
Okay.
5.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order then. And we have just one action item today, which is the CJC 2024 budget. And then we have a couple of discussion topics and things like that to go over. So I make a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is David.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Cindy, thank you very much. So we have that. Is there any questions on the August 22nd board meeting minutes? If not,
I'm going to abstain from that vote since I wasn't there, just so you know.
okay. Well, I love to make a motion that there's no changes and that we approve the meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second. I was
All
there.
those in favor say aye.
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 All right,
And
and then let's, okay. And let's go over the financial that we got in August and September. Why don't we just move to the September financials? And I'd like, who's going to do that for us? Is that?
I can. I mean, this is September that I pulled up here. There was nothing out of the ordinary in September. We had a surplus of 1,800. So it was pretty much in line with what we expected, and left the balance sheet as this, with about 150 in cash in operating, 45 in replacement, with a little bit due from CROA for some invoices that were paid by CJC instead of CROA.
Okay, so it's that 64,000 is really it represents CROA.
No, this 64,000 right here is owed from Artisan Park for insurance.
Oh, okay. Okay, and all right. And then I know that there was have we resolved anything on the CROA side related to, there was this budget discrepancy? We're getting kind of toward the end. Is that all taken care of, Lauren or Jennifer? Either one?
Yeah, it will flesh out by the end of December.
Okay.
I have a question. Obviously this is Cindy since I'm the only one. Well, never mind. Anyway, this Artisan Park insurance, Jennifer, is their insurance due when ours is December 6th?
I don't think I heard you. What did you say? Is ours due on December 6th?
I can answer that one.
Oh,
So, Cindy, yeah, Artisan owes CJC for their contribution to the insurance coverage for 22 and 23. We've been working with corporate leadership to try to get that bill paid. But I think we're at the point where we need to have Tom send a letter.
So that's 2 years worth of premium
Yep.
that's hanging out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any though
Yeah.
argument about it that we should know about, or is there any?
No, they've
Right.
acknowledged that they owe it. We're just, with their transition from Evergreen to now Evergreen / Real Manage, and their lost leadership, there's been some things that have been taking more time than they should to get resolved.
Okay, all right.
So
I don't-
in another couple of weeks, they're going to owe us 3 years worth.
Correct.
that's right.
Okay. Okay.
All right, but it's not affecting our ability to manage CJC. Pay
No.
everyone that needs to be paid and everything. We have enough float.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, let's get on to the budget item. If that's okay with everyone, the action item. Can you walk through the 2024 budget?
Do you have anything specific to show for that? Lauren,
if you can
or-
go to page 31.
You have that kind of nice summary there, with the blue column. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's helpful.
It's not part of this one, is it?
No,
I'm looking at that
it's
one.
page 31 in the packet.
Oh. Got it.
So for 2024, you're looking at an allocation adjustment. So you used to be at a 75-25 split between CROA and Kanoa, but because of the cap placed on Kanoa contribution increases, you are now at about a 75 or 78-22 split. A lot of your largest increases are in your insurance and your IT infrastructure and network. A lot of work has gone in over the last year and will continue to go in next year in terms of re-outfitting the town hall IT infrastructure and the celebration infrastructure as a whole. You now have cybersecurity protection, you're cloud-based. There's just a bunch of different changes that have been made and will continue to be made. Servers need to be replaced next year for your physical servers. So just long overdue items for infrastructure that are impacting the bottom line there. The other big change with CJC is the addition of another inspector, and that will really be dedicated to Kanoa. They haven't had a dedicated inspector ever, to my knowledge. So this will allow the other 4 to focus on CROA and 1 to focus on Kanoa, so they can do a monthly inspection of all properties.
Has CROA approved their 2024 budget?
They did.
Okay. All right. And we just approved the Kanoa one, so,
Correct.
okay. Okay, so, all right. So, I mean, I don't have any questions. Once you look at the allocations and then, oh, I guess, we do have, tell me about the reserve study. Is it embedded in these numbers, Lauren? For I guess the only asset we own is the tower.
Yep. So the reserve study is included in this. It is included in your reserve contribution. It will be redone next year. So we will get an updated study out to everybody as soon as it's completed.
Okay. Well, look, I'd love to get on to some of the discussion items if that's okay with everyone, but I've looked at this budget from mostly from a Kanoa side, and if you all don't have any questions, I don't have any questions. I make the motion. Oh, sorry.
Real quick. Excuse me, there's that pond before the, behind the, kinder care thing.
Mm-hmm.
We own that, right? Is it CROA or is it joint committee?
It's CROA. It's not joint committee. Joint committee only owns the water tower.
I knew that was a little odd thing, but I couldn't remember who paid for having it cleaned and stuff. So never mind. Thank you.
I make a motion then to approve the CJC 2024 budget. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor
Go ahead,
say
David.
aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, or unanimously approved. Okay. Let's go on to the discussion items.
So first up was introduction of Jeffrey Webb, our new community manager, but he had to step out to deal with a playground project issue. But he was introduced at the Kanoa meeting and at the CROA meeting, so everybody's at least met him and heard a little bit about his background.
He's on now, Lauren.
Oh, he's on now? Okay.
He's on mute though.
You're muted.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Nice to see you.
I think I've met everyone except for Paul.
Paul's a resident.
Yeah, I think I've met everyone else.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's keep going then. Terrific. Welcome aboard.
So in terms of insurance coverage changes, we just covered this in Kanoa, and we talked about this at the CROA board meeting. The CROA Finance Committee is making some suggested changes to insurance coverage levels to address some of the larger increases at the CJC level that CROA is bearing more of the burden on. This will raise the deductible from 5,000 to 10,000, acknowledging the historic reluctance to file claims. And it's also eliminating personal property coverage for items with an insurance limit less than $30,000, which really impacts CROA for the most part. In terms of they've got about 74 assets that are less than $30,000 to replace and 55 that are greater than $30,000. So this should lead to a premium cost savings, but that won't be fully fleshed out until we get the premium back from the insurance company, which should be at the end of this month because you're renewing on the 6th. So we will be sending that out to CJC for final approval upon receipt. But we just wanted you to be aware of those suggested changes. So when you see your premium come back, that's going to be noted in there. And if we need to make adjustments, we can.
Yeah, well, it makes sense to me. I hear this, it has the support of CROA, right? That's my understanding for the, okay.
Yes.
So I can't imagine why we wouldn't support it on the Kanoa side. Did we make a motion to vote on that, or where did we end up on the Kanoa side?
On the Kanoa side, it was just more informative.
Yeah, got it. So we're supportive.
Yeah, it's really on the CJC side, it'll be for CJC to make the final approval upon receipt of the premium numbers that come back at the end of November.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
I will do management update really quick. The water tower,
Is there
Karen,
Sorry, is there a page in here somewhere?
it's at the very end. 36. So the water tower, we have the contractor that was going to repair it, we have terminated from other projects. So we made the decision it was not a smart move to allow them to work on the water tower. So Karen's is providing a detailed scope of work that we will put out to bid and get new contractors on board. We should have contractor bids in the next month or so.
Okay,
What's
wow.
the contractor, Lauren?
Phoenix.
Okay, thank you.
This is really stretched out a bit, you know.
It has.
Wow. All right, well, I hope you, I'm sure there was a good reason why that contractor isn't working with us anymore.
They are in litigation with CROA
Oh, boy, okay.
for failure to complete a couple of projects. So we did not feel it was smart to continue with them.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, I hope we can find somebody else.
Yes, this is our top priority, along with the playground that we're at issue with this contractor on the CROA side. So these are our big priorities.
Okay. Well, this is our only asset, really, so.
Correct. Yeah.
CJC side, so we're, okay. Thank you for that update.
And then I'll just open the floor. We're at 2 years in the 3-year contract. So we had an opportunity to check in with Paige in terms of service level being provided to CJC and Kanoa. But we just wanted to open up to the rest of the CJC board if there were any major concerns. Obviously, the water tower project is a concern of both the board and management. So we'll make sure that comes to completion as quickly as possible. But just wanted to open the floor if anybody had any other comments on service level.
And I'll just say to the, just sharing, you know, I was asked personally, and then as a group, you know, how Grand Manners is doing and everything. So I just, you know, from the commercial side of things, you know, we've always maintained that the commercial folks are pretty easy. But, you know, we have no concerns. We asked the board. We don't have any concerns about the level of service. You know, from, you know, financial accounting, you know, management reports, those kinds of things that, you know, we feel we're pretty good. And you know, I think Grand Manners is doing a very good job. The other thing, I don't think we have any major topics on the Kanoa side really that we're dealing with right now. So I think it's all kind of steady as she goes. I'm giving that feedback to the you know, CROA members on that. But you know, from purely a commercial standpoint, we're fine, and I think we've given that feedback as a board, and then I shared some more comments with Lauren and team myself there. So, but I'd like to hear on the briefly on the CROA side, how are things? This is one of my few.
David, I'll let you speak to that. How about it?
Who are you talking to?
Anyone on the
David,
CROA
I'll let
side.
you speak to the
Oh,
CROA side.
Yeah, so from the CROA side, I don't know what you've heard, but we did have we engaged last July, I think it was, in a board member review. It was an anonymous review, taking the scope of work and itemizing items. I think we ended up with 141 different items, all rated on I believe it's a 5-point scale, you know, from meets expectations to, you know, that was the midpoint. And so that was revealed and discussed with Grand Manners executives last Wednesday evening, so 5 days ago. Separately, an assessment was done with community residents, a survey on items. I think it was 12, 13 items that would be of relevance to them. So it didn't take that same scope of work, but it was elements that are embedded in the scope of work. Things that are important, like consumer receptivity and activities and so forth that are covenants, inspections, ARC approval. And so that was shared 2 or 3 weeks before that in a community-wide workshop. So last Wednesday, we had a discussion with Grand Manor staff, mainly focusing on the board reactions and a tiny bit on the resident, because that had been previously discussed publicly. All those, the raw report, while it was boiled down to a series of slides, the raw report was 30 pages, I think, with the board data, showing where there's discrepancies. Some board members would rate something a 1, someone else a 4 on the same item. And from my count, the discrepancy of 3 happened 13 times out of 141. So lots of discussion, and then based on that sharing and again, the provision of the written documents, the Grand Manners staff was asked to come back with, if you will, action steps, corrective action. What are you going to do about this? Particularly where things were below expectations, or a mean score from 7 board members was below expectations. So that's the quick summary. I'm sure, Lauren, I don't know if you've already shared that or if that is shareable with Paige. I don't know. I don't know if Paige wants to see that, but that's the high level. That's the high level review, Paige.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, look, I don't know if, you know, this is a CROA thing. It's not really any of my business, but unless you wanted to share it with me, I'd be happy to review it. But you know, it's a document, right, between you and Grand Manners.
It's a document, and then waiting for the next step, waiting for feedback back in terms of developing, you know, what's next. You know, where this all was initiated was maybe 6 months ago, reflecting on what we did. And Paige, we were part of this discussion 3 and 4 years ago. You know, it's time to do an RFP, and then we go through that process and we build a revised scope of work. It wasn't patched together. It was brand new, built from scratch, drawing a lot from the past, and then doing an RFP process, narrowing it down to from several hundred to I think it was 15 or 13, and then down to 6, and then down to 2, and then down to 1. And that contract is a 3-year contract with the option to renew, and then another 3-year contract, an option to renew. Then an RFP is mandated after year 9 or at year 9. So that's where we are now. So the question was, are we generally satisfied, generally dissatisfied, somewhere in the middle? And if we're going to do an RFP, then we need to be thinking about that now, because the current contract expires 11 and a half months from now. So, we need to get with it if we're going to do an RFP. And, I think that if you're looking at the overall results, my sense is that while there's areas of concern and non-satisfaction, there's still disagreement among board members. But if you look at the overall picture, it's overall, I would say it's overall satisfaction. And I think Cindy can weigh in, and then, Lauren and Jeffrey can weigh in too. But that would be my take.
Well, I will say, Paige, that there's a big gap between the board's overall view on Grand Manor's performance and what the residents think. And primarily, there's a lot of people in town that are still confused to who does what. In the open-ended questions where they gave their opinions on things, they talked about things that CROA has no responsibility for, like the ponds and the streets and the alleys and the lights and the trails and all those kinds of things. So there is a big discrepancy there. Have to somehow.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I'm not satisfied with Grand Manor's maintenance of the roads. Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be guilty about that, because it is a topic that comes up a lot. Like, what are they responsible for, and then how do we feel about them, and then who's responsible for these other areas, and how do we feel about them as well? So.
Yeah, but we need to somehow educate the community, because they're going to be hopping mad if their survey results are obviously not as favorable as the board's was, because of a lot of this misunderstanding. So we have a big job ahead of us communicating to them, this is why, without making them sound stupid or uninformed or whatever. We did have a difference of opinion on the board with regard to who was going to set the put together the action items to fix the couple areas that the board feels need improvement. A couple of them were looking at this more like a employee-employer review, in which case, like at Disney, like at the bank where I worked, you sit down with the person, you talk to them, and the employer tells the employee what they need to do to fix the problem. There were others of us who felt that this is not the same. True, Grand Manors works for us, but we don't see how we can tell them how to fix their problem. Did I say that clearly? Do you understand where we're going with this? So that's how we ended up with Grand Manors saying, now you come back to us. You Grand Manors come back to us, Crow Board. These are the issues. You tell us, how you plan to fix it.
Yeah.
Maybe
share with me, Cindy or David, could you share with me the top 3 concerns of residents in the community?
Hang on a minute. Let me look. I can find my presentation quickly. I'm going to pick the phone out of my ear. Hang on.
No, this is one of the few times that I get to give some feedback, David. So that's why I'm asking.
Right.
Is this the last topic, Lauren? Lauren's probably like, oh my God, he's going into a lot of details here, but I'd like to understand it, because it's interesting that what I'm hearing is that there's a discrepancy between board members' views with other board members on a number of things, and then there's a discrepancy between the rank and file, residents and the board.
Yeah, so one page, I think, page one of the items, I think, is a concern about covenants and the inspection process. So
it's too rigorous, or it's not rigorous?
Well, so it's the question was the overall covenants process. And even though it says as it relates to staff, many residents don't realize that the people who are making decisions on covenants when it comes to a board, like the covenants committee, those are all residents, they're volunteer residents. So while staff may be identifying issues, when that gets brought to the committee, then the committee is deciding how to proceed.
I see.
So it says from inspection to violation to resolution. And so that I think there was
a page of the comments that just kind of stuck in my head. Somebody said Grand Manners is more interested in collecting fines. Manners has nothing to do with the fines. Again, that's the city and the board that assesses fines. Another one, giving us only 14 days to correct an infraction is not enough time. The letter says, within 14 days, please contact the office and let them know, what you plan to do to fix it. So that's where a lot of the negativity on that comes from, because people, like I said, people think that the Grand Manners is using the fines as some kind of a money-making opportunity, and they're not.
Yeah.
So Paige, you asked about the top three. I would say that one was covenants. One is overall condition of recreational amenities. So whether that's pools, tennis courts, volleyball, basketball. And so there was, if you look at it, about over half had a level of dissatisfaction. So we know things are aging. And what I'm finding, and I think some other board members are finding, that Grand Manners is uncovering things that were never done right. Like pool chemical systems never set up properly electronically. And then a parallel comment was about general maintenance. So again, as things age, I think Lauren and now Jeffrey have had some limitations with staff, and that I think they're now fully staffed. And then the other thing that's happened with I think staffing is that Lauren can report that often the maintenance staff is spending half their time doing, at least in the morning, to get things looking good, to get things cleaned. So our new budget has new individuals being hired to do the cleaning, so maintenance can do maintenance not doing cleaning. So there's awareness that things aren't looking prim and proper. I think that the subtext there is that Island Village is open for business. The pool and the amenity and the workout center looks beautiful. Why can't everything else look that way, even though it's 25 years old?
Sure.
So the comparison is dramatic, and therefore the expectation is there. The parallel is the desire to keep dues, which in one person's opinion, in my opinion, they're relatively low to start with, but to keep dues increases low. We can have everything looking new. We just have to pay for it. But there's there's people who are concerned about raising dues. So the dues increase for next year, which has been approved, is minimal. I think it's right around 4%.
Probably the other is for 3 page. The other one is probably contract procurement for site and supervision of projects. Again, that is driven by the fiasco that we had with 2 of our playgrounds that Lauren mentioned earlier, and that contractor. I'm sure that's because that's been front and center for how many months is it now, Lauren? 14? Yeah, 14 months. So that's what's driving those numbers, I think. They do
Okay.
it for the
Something,
All
yeah.
right, well, I'm just, yeah, thank you very much, though. I just was curious what types of things are coming on. It is an older community. Some of the wonderful things, I was out there the other day in the town center, and I was just looking at all the landscaping and the trees and how beautiful they are, and that, you know, now they go over the, you know, they touch on either side. And I remember you know, back in the day when they were just small little twigs sitting in the ground. So there's some really nice patina, and then there's, you know, not so nice patina that people have to focus on. I just, I would always encourage, though, people that, you know, fees, you know, are, services are commensurate with the fees that are charged.
Exactly.
And so, gosh, if you want good looking pools and clean things, you need to pay for them. And, you know, in terms of contractors, you got to get good contractors and you got to pay for that. And I just share with you at Golden Oak, you know, our fees are going up 10% a year. And, you know, a lot of it, you know, it's an apples and oranges comparison, but, you know, we have security folks at the front gate here, just outside my office here. And, you know, you've got to keep them, you know, inflation is really a challenging thing across the country. And you've got to keep paying people appropriately or they're going to leave. And you've got to keep paying service providers or they're not going to give you a good service. So, you know, I will also say, just here's my 2 cents. I keep thinking, you know, where are your fees now on the CROA side? $1,200 a year?
It's going to be 1,200. It'll be $100 a month.
Okay, $100 a month.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, maybe off a dollar or two. Jennifer will
And
know.
for that, you get all those recreational facilities, all of that, you know. I am so focused on so many other parts of the nation where easily, if you would have asked me what residents should be paying in a town like Celebration today, I would say $2,000 a year. And, you know, that's probably not, you know, that's just for discussion purposes, but I can easily support that through all kinds of similar communities up and down the East Coast that are paying 1,800, 1,900, but they, you know, they may have one clubhouse, two, you know, nothing like Celebration has. So anyways, I don't know if that's helpful at all, but
No,
my view is that over time, there's a tendency of trying to keep costs down. And at the end, it's like, look, you know, Celebration is a very special place. It has enormous amount of recreational amenities. They need to be upkeep. So I know I don't have any say on it, but just my 2 cents is I think the dues needs to be, in my view, a lot higher. A lot higher. And it shouldn't go into anybody's pocket. It should be,
We had a
it
large
should be.
3 years ago, and so I mean everybody was just beyond going crazy. And there was, I want to say there was a good 6, possibly 8 years when Pat was here and I was working there, that the assessments didn't go up at all. They were 9 and 11.40 for years and years and years and years. So I went and I just applied the cost of living, I think it was like 3.1 consumer index, all the way across, you know, all through those years. And the assessments, had we done that, would have been more than the couple hundred, you know, the 100 and some bucks that we raised that made everybody go crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it should be expected, and it should be, like you said, if you want to keep things up the way they need to be kept up, it's going to cost money, and everything going up in price. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
that's our problem.
Well, look, there's plenty of places that that folks can move to with lower HOA fees. They just don't have any of the benefits and recreational facilities. I asked my wife, I live in Bay Hill. We don't have any parks. We don't have any recreational departments or anything like that. We have a roving patrol and we have Christmas ornaments, nothing like Celebration does. And we pay 700 a month with no recreation.
A
A
month?
month.
No.
Sorry, 700 a year, sorry.
Oh, okay, okay.
I would have fallen over, yeah. 700 a year for that. And, so I just keep thinking that Celebration still is a tremendously good value, but all right, well, I appreciate it. I know you're going to get into a lot more details, on that, and I guess Grand Manners needs to respond, and you need to go back and forth and everything. So, look, and I know that there's some talk about an RFP. That's up to you all about that as well. But my 2 cents is, and I'll say this in front of Grand Manners, I cautioned against the RFP to get CCMC out. I wanted you all to work with CCMC, but the thought was, no, too much water under the bridge kind of thing. So I would say this, I would work the heck with Grand Manners and figure out these things. Because I don't really think there is a Prince Charming that's going to show up and solve everyone's problems here. So I think you've got a good group, and Lauren and team, and Jeff and team. So I would get there, sit down, look at budgets, look at things that people want to achieve. And it's also frustrating with the commercial side of things. I mean, just communication side of things, where people are complaining about things that people don't have responsibilities for. Wow, is that something? So, but I'm sure you all will work on that. Anyways, I've said enough. I good luck on that side of things. Hey, Lauren or Jennifer, do we have anything else to kind of review?
That's it.
I don't have any other questions. Is there any board members want to say anything at this time, or?
Paige, as always, I appreciate your big picture, your look from across the nation about what's happening elsewhere, and then your last comment about staying the course. I think these issues that have been raised and if you will, the disconnect with some of the resident views are all fixable. My views are all fixable, and I think we have a great staff with Lauren and Jeffrey on board. Jeffrey hasn't really shown himself yet, except for a few weeks, right, Jeffrey? But the prospects are very good, and I think some great days are ahead. So I always appreciate your insight and your support.
No, thank you. I keep focused, guys. No, I appreciate it. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll
Cindy,
second.
go for it, Cindy.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Paige.
Have a
Hey,
nice
Lauren,
season.
can you hang on for just a second?
Of course.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.